Hello and welcome to this video tutorial where we want to take a look at how we can create such a video projection effect inside of Blender with the Octane render engine. Inside of my rendered viewport here you can see that we have an Octane area light and we have a plane in here. And then we have the projection that we want to get on the surface of our plane. If I take the Octane area light right here and I pull it up a bit, we can see that the projection is moving alongside the Octane area light. And when we go out of our camera right here and go a bit to the side where our plane is, we can see that there is a deform on our plane and we have the slight bend in here. If I do the same thing with the Octane area light again, we can see that the projection truly is moving on the surface of our deformed plane. So this is a true light projection onto our object, and this is exactly what we want to get this projector effect. So I will get back into my camera, and to recreate this effect I will select the Octane area light and I will press delete. You can follow along with my key inputs down here in the right hand corner. So to start all over again, we will have to add in an Octane area light again. And we will do that by pressing Shift-A and going into this menu. And down here we will go to Light and we will select Octane area light. Now we want to rotate this 90 degrees. So I will go to rotate over here and we can pull, and I will hold Control in order for us to get to 90 degrees, like so. And we can pull it back, so it is roughly 2 meters away from the center of our scene. Okay, so let's start by adding a shader to this Octane area light. In my case, I will just pull up this window over here. And in here, we are already inside of the shader editor. If you are not, we can go up here and we can select the shader editor, make sure that it is set to object. And in here, there automatically is a material created. In our case, it's a diffuse material with a texture emission. I don't want the texture emission, so I click on it and we press delete. And now we can press Shift-A again and we can search for a black body emission. Here is the black body emission. And we can take the emission out of the black body emission and we can put it into the emission connector of our diffuse material. Now we have to change a few values inside of this black body emission down here. And in my case, I will take the texture to 0.9. And we will take the power to 200. Then we will make sure that keep instance power is checked. And that should be it for this black body emission. Now we will proceed by adding in a texture. We will do that by pressing Shift-A again and searching for an RGB image. Here's the RGB image node. And we can take the texture out of the RGB image node and we will plug it into the distribution of our black body emission. As you can see inside of our 3D viewport where we have the rendered view enabled, the emission has stopped. This is because we don't have an image in the RGB image node yet. We will change that now. In my case, I will use the image that you saw earlier in the preview. But of course, you can change this image node into whatever image you want for your projection. So now I've added in my image to the RGB image node. And I would suggest for you to make sure that there is some kind of black outline or black rim around your picture so that we can set down here the border mode to black color on both axes. And this will assure that we only have one image in our projection and not multiple. If I take the Octane area light that we have in our scene right now and I select it and press S and scale it down a bit, we will see that the projection that we are creating is getting much sharper. And if I scale it up again, our projection will get blurred quite a bit. On the plane that we are projecting onto, that our projection is far too big in our case. We will change that by going down to UV transform down here, and we will click on this little plus. This will create a 3D transformation node for us, and in here we can change the scale of our image that is projected. I will set these to 0.07, and this is fine in my case. In your case, you should scale the image to the size that you need for your scene. Okay, so as you can see on the plane that we are projecting onto, the image is quite blurred. We will change that by selecting the Octane area light again and by pressing S and scaling it down. So now we have scaled the area light quite a bit down, and there's still quite a bit of blur, so we will continue to just scale down. And I think this is actually fine. Of course, you can change this accordingly to your project. In my case, I will leave it like that because the projection is quite sharp right now, and we also want a little bit of unsharpness for this effect to look a little bit cooler. Okay, in order to get a bit more of this projector effect, we will change something inside of our black body emission, because we want to shift around the values of our image. So I want to shift the green value, for example, or I want to change the blue value to a special, or transform it so that we get a little bit of color shifting inside of our projection. This is quite easy to do, but takes a few nodes. In order to start, we will create a channel merger node. We press Shift A again and we search for channel merger node. Down here it is. And I will put it in here. As you can see, we just get the blue channel right now. This is not what we want, because we first need to basically split all of the channels from our image node. So the blue, the red, and the green channel. We will start by adding in a channel picker node. So we go in here, we press Shift A again and search for a channel picker node. Down here it is. We click on it, and now we can put it in between here. And if I now take the channel and put it to 2, you can see that there are other parts of the image appearing. Okay. Now we will continue by taking this channel picker node, pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl V and Ctrl V again to get a third node. Of course, you can, there are many ways to duplicate these nodes, but we need 3 of them. And now I will change this one to channel 1, this one to channel 2, and this one we will leave at channel 3. Now we can take the texture out of our RGB image node and we put the same connector basically into every input connector of the channel picker. Okay, now we can take the texture out of the second channel picker node and we put it into the second channel of the channel merger node, and we can do the same with the third channel picker node by putting it into the third channel merger node. As you can see inside of the rendered view, we have returned to our projected image and everything looks exactly as before. This is because we have not changed or transformed the values of these individual channels. And we will do that by adding in a UV transform node. So we press Shift A again and we search for the UV transform node. Down here it is. And now we will put 1 up here, and I will copy it, and I will take a second one and put it down here. We just want to change the transformation of 2 of these channels because one can stay as it is and won't be affected, so it will be visible through the transformation of the other 2. Okay, in here we can now click on the little plus icons of the UVW transform down here, and this will add in 3D transformation nodes for these UVW transform nodes. And in here, the scale is everywhere set to 1.0. And we want to change that. If I zoom into the projection that we are creating down here, and I now go to the first channel up here, and I go into the scale and change some values in here, we can see that we are shifting the colors around. So in this case, the blue color. If I go down here and do the same thing, we can see the green color. I will set these to 0 down here. You can of course do the same with the scale, and this is what we will do. So I will select all 3 scale values up here, and I will put them to 1.05 maybe. Seems a little bit too light. We can see a little bit of shifting there. In this case, I will just put these to 1.2, and then we go down here and we put these to 1. And now you can see that there's quite a bit of color shifting down here. If I reset them to 1, and we change a bit of the transformation to 0.07, for example, or up here 0.05, we can see that the shift is quite big. So we have to put this quite small, probably around 0.001, 0.02. Yeah. As you can see, we have color shifting. Put these values to whatever suits your project. So as you can see right here, I have quite a lot of bloom going on here. You might not have that, and this is because of the post-processing that I have enabled inside of my scene right here. If I press N to get up the side panel, you will see that there is a tab down here. When you go to Octane and scroll down, you will go to the Octane post-processing preview mode. Check that and also check override. And in here, we will go down to the bloom power. In my case, the bloom power is set to 77.9. If I put this to the default value, which I think is quite small, at 1, we will see that there is no bloom at all. If I put it to 50, there should be a bit of bloom. And if I put it down back to 77, then there's quite a lot of bloom. So you should change this value to whatever suits your project as well. Okay, this should be it for this video tutorial. I will just show you what will happen if you don't change the border mode to black color. So if I do that back to wrap around and close the side panel by pressing N, you will see that there are multiple projections on our plane. If you want that, this is fine, but in my case, I will change it back to black color for us to only have one projection. This is it for this video tutorial. I hope you could follow along. Please remember to subscribe and like the video if you could follow along. And till then, have fun with Blender and Octane.